Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Raghav Jagannathan. I'm the president and CEO of a company called Cobot Inc. Uh, Today, we are going to present to you a truly unique solution called imDocShare Sync that will let you automate, basically synchronize documents, content from both iManage Work Server and iManage Cloud with SharePoint, both on premises and online, Microsoft Teams, and OneDrive for Business, as well as network file drives. So before I get started with my webinar, we just want to open a couple of poll questions. So just to get a sense of the audience in terms of what kind of synchronization tools that you might be currently using and how it's working out for you guys and some of the key challenges that you guys see with these same tools. So we'll keep those polls open for a couple of minutes. While you guys respond to that, we'll continue with this webinar. So I want to first introduce to you our software imDocShare. imDocShare is a truly unique product in the market. It's been in the market for just over 4 years. As an iManage key partner, we created imDocShare primarily to kind of help law firms and general counsels and iManage clients to surface content, iManage content within SharePoint. So imDocShare still today is the only standalone app that you can purchase from the App Store or directly from us that helps you surface, view, edit, add, sync iManage content within SharePoint. So since then, we extended the journey into Microsoft Teams. So today, imDocShare Teams app is one of the most popular apps in the Teams Store that also helps you view, edit, sync, search, and even provision iManage Work Server as well as iManage Cloud content in Microsoft Teams. And we extended that capability into OneDrive for Business and also into network file drives. So you have the ability to synchronize today both bidirectional and one-way content from iManage Work Server or iManage Cloud with the Microsoft 365 services ecosystem, including network shares. We have given a QR code if you guys are interested in trialing our imDocShare Teams app. Please feel free to do that. The imDocShare family basically has all these different add-ons that are very popular within law firms, starting with a SharePoint app, as I talked about before, which is basically a SharePoint web part that you can expose iManage content on your client matter pages, your practice pages, your home page, basically a live view, a live edit, live add capabilities without copying that content into SharePoint. And we give the same capabilities in Teams. And we also have a search capability where you can search within iManage right from within SharePoint or Teams. We have the sync capability, which we're going to talk about in great detail today. A provisioning, which basically is one of the best products in the market that helps you provision teams and channels and tabs and even client extranet sites on SharePoint with the help of imDocShare provisioning, all powered by iManage content and some of the synchronization tools that we use within the provisioning process to automatically sync iManage Work Server or iManage Cloud content with your client-facing teams, your extranet sites. We also have other add-ons like co-authoring, content browser that helps you surface iManage content in .NET and full stack applications. imDocShare Attach that lets you attach iManage content with SharePoint list items and document libraries, and our governance tool called imDocShare Admin. So what is imDocShare Sync? So imDocShare Sync is truly a game-changing product in the market. It helps you do both bidirectional and one-way sync with iManage content. So today with imDocShare Sync, you have the ability to not only synchronize content, which is documents, folders, simply any type of content from iManage right back to SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, and even network file shares. We can also synchronize permissions. So if you have walled permission content, specific permission content in iManage, we can preserve that in the respective Microsoft 365 system, and vice versa. So if you have documents and folders that are permissioned specifically in Teams and SharePoint and OneDrive, we can preserve that when we synchronize that back to iManage, including metadata. So we can even copy metadata comes from iManage and SharePoint and Teams back and forth. And I'll show you examples of this, how that works. We didn't want to quite stop there with regards to Microsoft 365 services. With imDocShare Sync, you can even copy, move, iManage content, so workspace between libraries. You can copy a workspace from one library to another library. You can even copy within the library. So you can, for example, you can move or copy content from a workspace within the same library as well with imDocShare Sync. Could be very useful as an administrative utility, especially if you're onboarding and changing client names and numbers. With an imDocShare Sync, you would see, as I show you a demo, how it can also not only synchronize files from iManage work, both server and cloud, but also it can copy doc links. So especially for customers who are very focused on not having any content exposed outside of iManage, imDocShare Sync is the only tool in the market that allows you to synchronize document links. So we'll show you an example of how you can synchronize a linked document, a document link that is pointing to a document in iManage right to Teams channel. So we'll look at that example also in a second. You can also, a lot of law firms use SharePoint lists and a lot of files are attached to that. With imDocShare Sync, you can strip those files out from the SharePoint list and synchronize it back to iManage while having a link to that file that's been synchronized to iManage left behind on the SharePoint list. So it makes it an extremely effective platform for moving content from your SharePoint, your Teams file, all the files that are living within those systems, making sure that iManage becomes your primary document store. And some of the key updates that is coming with our basically our winter release, you'll also see capabilities rolling out for synchronizing with network file shares. This has been a requirement for a lot of our customers where they want to synchronize with the network file shares for Google Drive. So we're rolling out those features as well with imDocShare Sync. So let's have a quick look at imDocShare Sync and the type of capabilities it offers. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to move over to our synchronization interface here. Our imDocShare Sync today ships in two flavors. For highly regulated customers, some of our public sector customers, as well as for highly regulated clients, imDocShare Sync can be a 100% in your tenant solution, meaning that you do not have to use our hosted service. As you can see, we use sync.imdocshare.com, which is a hosted service hosted by us. Regardless of whether you go with a hosted service or an on-prem service for imDocShare Sync, one thing is for sure guaranteed. imDocShare Sync does not store any documents from iManage in any temporary storage. We simply use APIs on both directions. So we read from iManage using iManage Universal API, and we write back to SharePoint using a SharePoint API or Teams using the Graph API. At no point, documents are stored in some temporary folders or files or whatnot, regardless of whether it's run by us as a service or runs within your tenant as a service. So rest assured that your content will be protected, secured within the walls and the permissions that are within iManage. So on that note, let me show you a couple of examples of how imDocShare Sync helps you with synchronization. So right off the cuff, you have the Sync dashboard. You can simply click on Create Job. When you click on Create Job, you have the ability to select your sync type. You can see here, we have many sync types. Some of the examples I gave you before, a bidirectional sync type is the most popular. With a bidirectional sync type, we can basically make sure that the synchronization happens between both SharePoint and iManage or Teams for the matter. It's basically bidirectional, meaning that updates can happen in either direction, and we, through the power of maintaining versions and checkout statuses and so on, which I'll expect on later, we have the ability to make sure that the content is being synchronized between the two platforms. You have the ability to control the sync frequency. How often does this job run? By default, it's 30 seconds. Does not mean the job completes in 30 seconds. just means that once the job completes, there's a duration where the job goes to sleep for 30 seconds or 1 minute or 30 minutes or 1 day or 4 days or 10 days, whatever the case might be, and it'll wake up and do the synchronization again. Copy metadata columns is something I talked about, where you have the ability to map metadata columns between the iManage source and SharePoint. We're going to look at that later. Apply permissions, as I said, you have the ability to carry over permissions from iManage into SharePoint and vice versa. And update date timestamp helps you preserve date timestamps that is in iManage or SharePoint as you move content back and forth. So for the purpose of this demo, I have a demo tenant here that I'm going to use. And I'm going to basically use a site here that I have a document library called SPO to iManage sync demo. So I'm going to simply, I can grab the URL from here, or I can select from the list of URLs, whatever the case might be. But once you do that, it'll connect real time to that site, and it'll bring over automatically the document libraries and lists that you want to synchronize with iManage. So in this example, I want to synchronize with that specific library called SPO to iManage. I want to synchronize with SPO iManage bidirectional, so that we are doing the bidirectional sync right now. So we're going to synchronize with SPO iManage bidirectional. So we're going to simply type in SPO iManage bidirectional sync, and it comes up right here. I select that, and now my source or destination, depending, because it's bidirectional, it could be either or, is set. On the iManage side, I can simply go browsing for my content that I want to synchronize this with. So I go and find my favorite workspace here. For demo purposes, I have a workspace. Automatically, it finds that we have clients that are using millions of workspaces, and the search is extremely fast. You can search across all those workspaces by title or by name and all those different facets. And here I have found the content that I want. I can simply select, and I'm going to select just a couple of documents so that we can see the synchronization in action. So I have the February 2023 folder here. I can select all, for example. I can synchronize the entire content, but I'm not going to do that. For the purpose of this, I'm simply going to select all the contents in the co-authoring folder and a couple of documents from here. That's it. Here, obviously, it's empty, so we do not have any content in SharePoint right now. Synchronizing back. So to fix that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a document into my SharePoint, just to kind of show you how the back and forth synchronization works. So I'm just going to drag and drop a PDF document, an Excel document here, and a Word document. So I have 3 documents on the SharePoint side, and I have a folder, and I'm also going to create a folder, an empty folder. Let's call it drafts in SharePoint. So I have an empty folder and 3 documents, and I have some content in my iManage that I've selected. So let's start with the 1 folder and 3, just to kind of make sure that this job runs quickly because we are limited on time. So we're going to simply click on Start Sync. Let's refresh this to reflect the folder and the content we added. We're going to simply say Select All on this side. And just a couple of documents we're going to synchronize from SharePoint. So we have pre-selected documents from here, pre-selected some documents and folders from here, and we're going to simply Start Sync. And just like that, we've selected a bidirectional job that will go back and forth between SharePoint and iManage. A couple of things to note about the job. Number 1, the job basically, if you have duplicate files on both sides, you saw that I had a PowerPoint presentation with the same file name on both sides. The obvious question to ask is, how does that work? What happens if I have duplicate file names in iManage? For example, iManage offers you the ability to have files that are the same name, whereas SharePoint does not. So we handle all those scenarios in imDocShare Sync. With our ability to handle duplicate file names in iManage automatically being linked within SharePoint through doc IDs in iManage, you can and still it'll be renamed in SharePoint as a different file name with a bracket 1 or whatnot. That way, we have the ability to still preserve the duplicate file name concept in iManage and SharePoint, even though SharePoint does not support that. Often we get asked a question: what about Version control. What happens to versions? What happens if a synchronization job is running on both sides? So it's a bidirectional job like this, but somebody edits a document in iManage. What happens then? We've already thought through that. So with the checkout propagation process, if you're opening the document in iManage, we would automatically propagate the checkout status through SharePoint. If the document is being collaborated in SharePoint or Teams for that matter, is being co-authored, we'll automatically propagate that checkout status to iManage. With the synchronization process, but if a race condition does happen, in spite of all those checks and balances, we preserve versions on both sides. So you're never ever going to lose any version. For example, if there's a version in iManage.croc created, just in between the job goes to sleep and wakes up in 30 seconds, it's possible. We make sure that that version is brought back to SharePoint, and the version in SharePoint becomes the older version, and the iManage document becomes a newer version. At no point, if the document is checked out in either direction, we will replace the document, meaning that the sync job knows if the document is, for say, in shared checkout status, being co-authored in SharePoint or Teams, we would never override the document from iManage. So the checks and balances we've thought through a lot in terms of imDocShare sync. Let me show you some other examples. Let's set up a job that actually does some really cool things here. For example, iManage to SharePoint is one of the most common use cases, but instead of using SharePoint, I'm going to use Teams. Many of you already know this, that a Teams channel files tab is nothing but a document library. So I'm simply going to say iManage to Teams here, and as soon as I do that, you can notice how a few options popped up. One option says copy doc links. Doc links helps you copy document links into, in this example, a Teams channel files tab. Let's go and find our team first. And for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to use a Contoso marketing team. And I'm going to select the channel, which is called general. That channel currently has no records. I'm going to go back to my favorite document workspace that I've used before. And I'm going to select a couple of documents from any random folder, for example, that one. And I'm simply going to select a couple of documents here just to show how iManage to Teams synchronization works from a copy doc links perspective. And I've simply selected a couple of documents, a Word document, an Excel document, maybe even a PDF document, and I'm just simply going to say start sync. What this does is basically we'll synchronize all those three files, but not as files, as doc links. So while we are talking here, let's go and check on the status of our SharePoint job, a bidirectional SharePoint job. So you can see here that it shows you a status. One of the key takeaways also is that imDocShare sync has checks and balances in place in terms of errors, logs. A lot of the competitive products, customers who transition to imDocShare sync express a grievance with those products in terms of poor logs. We have extensive logging capabilities where you can check on the logs at a granular level and see where things might have failed. So you do have the option to view log, but you can see here it's successfully completed, and it's a recursive job. It kind of keeps going for 30 seconds. But let's see what happened. So you can see here an auto refresh happened on the SharePoint side. You can see the co-authoring folder also got brought over from iManage. All the documents that I selected came over from iManage. The co-authoring folder also has a bunch of documents that I selected in iManage. Well, I didn't select, I just selected the folder. It all came over. And let's see what happened on the iManage side. So the iManage side, I'm just going to simply go to cloudimanage.com. Again, I'm using the cloud version of iManage. You do not have to use cloud version of iManage. If your iManage on-prem, you just need to make sure that you're on 10.2 or above version. So 10.2, 10.3, 10.4, 10.4.x. You support all those versions. So you do not have to use iManage work or iManage Cloud to do anything and everything that I'm doing here. I'm just using it as an example. So here, for example, I have the SharePoint job completed and it synchronized the content to SharePoint. Let's check on our Teams job. It looks like the Teams job also completed. So let's go and see what exactly is going on in our Teams. So I'm using a demo tenant here. Again, I'm using a web version of Teams. It does not mean you have to use a web version of Teams. It's just that I'm logged into a demo tenant. So I'm just going to go and go to the web version of Teams here. We'll let it load for a second. While that loads, I'm quickly going to show you our sync capability from SharePoint Teams to iManage. But before I do that, I just want to do a quick poll here, ask just one question on how and what kind of feature so far what you heard from me that you like in imDocShare Sync. While you guys answer the poll, I'm going to keep going here. A couple of things to note about the SharePoint to iManage job or the Teams to iManage job. This job is pretty special. The reason being that, for example, when I set Teams to iManage, notice how we have this move files option, which is incredible. With the move files option, you now have the ability with Sync to move those files out of the SharePoint or the Teams channel files tab into iManage. So if I say yes, I now have the ability to say move immediate or on a custom date and time. And I can also select whether I want to replace those links in Teams Files tab. For example, if the document moves out of the Teams Files tab, it can really upset some people, and you don't want to upset them, especially attorneys. So you can leave behind a leaf, a reference, so that when people click on that file, it'll open that file in iManage. So we call the replace link. So this helps you not only move files out of Teams Files tab or SharePoint document library into iManage, but it also helps you leave behind references to those files. And maybe you can do that on a temporary basis. And then you can select no later in the job, and the job will just delete those links once that phase out of the team or channel happens. So the move files capability in Teams to iManage or SharePoint to iManage is very, very powerful because you have the ability to do move those files and leave behind a reference link or not, depending on your use case. So let's now go and check up on our Teams job and see what exactly happened. So I'm going to toggle this to Teams. As you can see, the Teams job completed. The Contoso Marketing General tab. Let's see what our tab loaded here. It did. So we're going to go back to our team here and go to the General channel. That is the one I used to synchronize the content. And under the Files tab, notice how there are 3 links waiting for me. So remember, it's all synchronizing doc links. So we still keep the document in iManage. We simply synchronize the content to the Teams Files tab or the SharePoint document library just using links. You click on it, it just opens in iManage Workbench or your work client. You can also bring over, as part of the copy doc links functionality, metadata. For example, if you can bring iManage metadata, let me show you an example of that. For example, if I go in here, say edit, and say copy metadata columns, that's yes. Automatically, you will get an option here called column list. So I have the ability to pick on column list, and I can select metadata columns. And this is a Teams example, but the same thing applies to SharePoint as well. So I can pick my metadata columns on the iManage side to the metadata columns I want to bring on the Teams side / SharePoint side. So let me, the limited time we have left, let me show you a couple of other job types, which is very popular. OneDrive for Business. This is a huge opportunity for law firms to not just synchronize content from the attorney's OneDrive. Some firms are using it to back up some of the key client matter files that lives on the attorney's personal OneDrive. Especially, we've seen this play out in Asia Pacific law firms who tend to use OneDrive a lot more than North American counterparts. So these customers are using our OneDrive synchronization capabilities to basically synchronize content and keep the attorney's OneDrive backed up in iManage. And the beauty about our OneDrive for Business synchronization is that it could be, not that you have to, it could be initiated by the attorney also. So we have a OneDrive sync app that lets the attorney pick and choose what files they want to synchronize from their personal OneDrive into iManage. And if some of the firms do use a lot of OneNote, so we've seen attorneys use OneNote So if the firm is using OneNote with this synchronization capabilities, you can even back up your OneNote and restore it if it gets corrupt. So when you select, for example, as an admin, you have the ability to select a bidirectional job in the same way an iManage to OneDrive, OneDrive to iManage capability. When you select bidirectional, as an admin, you can set up on behalf of the attorney. So for example, here the attorney, you're an admin, so you just simply select the OneDrive tenant that you want to set up the job with, put the attorney's email, and you can set up a job on behalf of the attorney. The last thing I want to show you guys is the imDocShare sync, move, and copy the capabilities within iManage. So this is content within iManage. How do we move content, for especially documents, folders that are inside a workspace to a different workspace within the same library? With move iManage to iManage, you can achieve that. With move to iManage to iManage, we have the ability to pick and choose within the same library content from one workspace to move to a different workspace. For example, here, I'm going to simply type in legal, and I can pick my content that I want to move from that location into my other workspace into that location. I can simply say start sync, and it will move the contents of all the contents of that specific folder and subfolders and subfolders and subfolders. Basically, the entire hierarchy, the entire folder would move, preserving doc IDs and all the metadata. So move iManage to iManage could be extremely useful for moving content or even repurposing a workspace within the same library. Please note that move iManage to iManage does not support moving content between libraries because of API restrictions from iManage. So for moving content between libraries, you would use a copy iManage to iManage. For copy iManage to iManage, it will simply copy the content between two libraries. So you can copy an entire workspace from one library to a different library. So with imDocShare Sync, it truly is a remarkable platform because it allows you to basically synchronize content from iManage Work, Server, or iManage Cloud right into SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive for business, as well as with the upcoming release network file shares. So you have the ability to synchronize your content from your Microsoft 365 platform and or your file shares. We support bidirectional sync as well as one-way sync between iManage and those services. With a bidirectional sync, we take care of version control. We take care of conflict checks. We take care of making sure that checkout statuses are propagated between the two systems. We take care of permissions, walls, information that you might have restricted content on, making sure that the restricted content does not show up on the respective Microsoft platform or is restricted so that the permissions flow through. We also make sure that metadata can be synchronized between the two platforms. We make sure that the content that is synchronized between the two platforms, accidental overrides do not happen. We also support one-direction synchronization where you can basically do a one-direction synchronization from iManage to SharePoint or Teams, but not the document link. So just in case you want to preserve the content in iManage and do not want to copy it out of iManage. We also support moving of files from OneDrive, iManage, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams into iManage so that when collaboration is over in those platforms, you want to make sure that it automatically moves into iManage. And that feature will be also supported for network shares. And the last but not the least, I showed you how with the iManage move and copy functionality, you can copy content between iManage document or iManage libraries from basically copy a workspace from one library to the other library, or you can move content from a workspace between within the same library, but between workspaces. So we're really excited with imDocShare Sync. We're going to open our final poll for the webinar. If you can please respond to that. And if you're further interested, I'm going to leave my contact details here. We can do a more deeper dive demo for this webinar. So at this point, we're going to take some questions. So we say here that there's a couple of questions being posted here. One of them is, does this work with iManage Cloud and Work Server? The answer is yes. So we do support both Work Server and the cloud I think I said this before, Work Server has to be 10.2 version or above, could be 10.3, 10.4, 10.4.x. The second question is there an automation to link an iManage workspace and Team SharePoint library? Is each connection manually set up? No, the connections are basically using the Entra ID and basically an app registration in Azure. So it's one-time setup. You do not have to set up for each and every site collection or each and every iManage workspace. I know we are out of time here. We will be sending out a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar. Please feel free to email us back if you have any questions. Thank you for your time.